الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلاة ربي وسلامه ورحمته وبركاته على ذاك النبي الكريم نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We continue where we left off, and I think everyone in to know the answer. Alhamdulillah, I just found it. Listen to what the answer to this. It says, there's a person that asked a question that I fasted 29 days. He says, I fasted 29 days and I performed the Eid on the 30th day in the city in which I fasted in, meaning the city that I came from. He says, وَلَكِنِّي ذَهَبْتُ صَبَاحِيَةَ الْعِيدِ إِلَى بَلَدْ آخَرٍ. However, on the day of the Eid, خلاص, he's done fasting, right? Done. Of Ramadan. I went to another place, or I went to another country. And I'm not fasting. I broke my fast. It's done. Ramadan's over. So I found them fasting still. He says, do I fast or do I stay upon me breaking my fast and the fact that I already prayed the Eid? Listen to what the Shaykh says. He says, لا يلزمك تمسك لأنك أفطرت بطريق شرعي فصار اليوم الذي في حقك يوما مباحا فلا يلزمك إمساكه لو غابت عليك الشمس في بلد ثم سافرت إلى بلد فأدركت الشمس قبل أن تغيب فإنه لا يلزمك صياما. Now listen to this. He says here in this instance, the answer is, it is not binding upon you to fast. It's not binding upon you to fast. That's the answer. Because he says you have broke and stopped your fast by a way that was legislated. بطريق شرعي, by a way that was what? Legislated. He says, so now, today, in regards to yourself, has become a day that is mubah. That is what? It's a time to relax, or if you want, what have you. And it's not binding upon you to fast. He says, even if, let's just say now, the sun went down in the country which you was in. So you same thing, same example. He says you broke your fast. Let's just say you went traveled to another city and the sun was still up a little bit. Everybody understand where I'm coming from? Because that can happen. That can happen. Let's just say now you broke your fast at the airport. Broke my fast. It's 8:30. So now I went from Saudi to, let's just say, Sudan. I went to Sudan. I just broke my fast, that's where I have you. Oh, no. Let's just say now, for example, I got on the plane, and the plane's taking off. Matter of fact, this is a better example. I'm in my plane. Plane's taking off. Let's just say, for example. Already, now the sun went down. It doesn't matter. The sun went down. I broke my fast already. Let's just say now you went to another country. Of course, you went a little bit back in time, or we went against time a bit, and you found, let's just say, for example, the sun still was up a bit, and they were still fasting. So now I have to resume fasting with them. We would say, what? No, you already broke your fast. It's done. Done deal. Same thing. Since you prayed the Eid and you also what? Stopped your fast and your Ramadan was concluded, finalized, over in the city you came from, does it now? You have to now start Ramadan again? La. No. So I have to resume Ramadan. No. Ramadan is over, it's over. It's not to break fast in the city you came from. Now let's just resume Ramadan temporarily and break our fast. And fast again, Fast again. So that's why we said a person here in this instance would not have to fast. Another example. Matter of fact, we'll suffice with those examples. I don't want to confuse them anymore. We'll get back to the book. So those examples are examples of why these ahadith, these narrations of the Prophet ﷺ, to show not only just the relevancy of it, of why they are so important, and it has a lot of fiqh in it. Because a person will just read it and they'll say, the day that the people to fast, or the people when they break, is the day the people break the fast. The people to slaughter is the people to slaughter. They be like, there ain't no fiqh in it. And you'll see in these narrations and the examples we gave, there's a lot of fiqh in it. You understand? There's a lot of fiqh in it. And this also increases our iman to show that Allah Ta'ala knew what He was revealing and legislating exactly, precisely, and accurately. To know that we were going to need these because especially we now, due to technology has advanced a bit, when people have planes and go to different countries, these narrations were made for these reasons. So as if to show that what? Allah had absolute knowledge that these things were what? We were going to take place. That's the reason why these narrations were revealed. So these affairs that what? Increases our iman to show how complete our religion is. Jayyid. Tayyib. How the matters of fiqh and how everything is clearly laid out. In contrast to the other religions of the Christians and the Jews, and everything is hunky-dory, we just do what we feel. But however, we have, alhamdulillah, authentic narrations that everything is accurate. And we know what to do in accordance with what pleases our Lord or what displeases Him, subhanahu. Is it clear, everyone? Tayyib. Why every time I start this class, my allergies are acting up. Tayyib. So now in regards, just to touch on, matter of fact, we don't need to do that right now. We'll go to the next narration. So, we have, based upon the narrations that we covered, on the hadith Abdullah ibn Umar, سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول إذا رأيتموه فصوموا وإذا رأيتموه فأفطروا فإنهما عليكم فاقدروا له, to the end of the narrations, to all of the 4 narrations we already covered. He says, وَلِمْ ثَارِي Abu Hurairah, that we already completed, complete 30 days of Sha'ban. So we know that Ramadan starts by what? Number 1, or by 2 ways, 1 or 2 ways. Number 1 is what, everyone? Either by sighting the moon, and that could happen and starts which day, everyone? The 28th, huh? 29th. Jay, I sent to him. The 29th day, or 29th night, if you want to call it per se. 29th night. The 29th night is when the people start investigating to show whether or not, or to see whether or not has the sighting manifested or not. Right, everyone? طيب. Or the other way is completed 30 days. Based upon these narrations we just read, right, everyone? Based upon these narrations. So either those are only 1 or 2 ways. That's it. No more, no less. No more, no less. Now I'm going to read in regards to what even the great Imam that he mentioned said. Oh, alhamdulillah, we're going to take that in the next narration. That's going to come. Fine. So all these narrations to show what the Messenger of Allah ﷺ had taught about how this tremendous ibadah inaugurates. Either through one of these 2 ways. Either through the 29th day of when the people start investigating, or to completing the 30 days of Sha'ban. That's it. No more, no less. So no one try to come now, as I discussed in the last lesson. We said, and we mentioned what, everyone? That no one try to come and say that we're going to go by al-hisab al-falaki. That is the new way, a new so-called technology that people want to use in order to establish that Ramadan has started. Wrong. They use what they call, for example, the calculations of the stars and the positions of the stars. You understand, everyone? That is what? Incorrect. You'll find that Ahl Ilm, from them Shaykh Uthaymeen, from them from Shaykh Salih Fawzan, and the list goes on and on down the line. And even the great Imam, the Mufti, Al-Mamlakat Al-Arabiyyah Al-Saudiyyah, Shaykh AbdurRazzaaq Ali Shaykh, and other than them said that is incorrect. To use that type of method to establish whether or not Ramadan has started. That is something that is mubtada', mustahdath, an innovative matter, and it is also something that is what? In contrast to what the Messenger of Allah ﷺ gave as clear instructions. So the Messenger of Allah made something of this affair easy, clear. 2 ways. Either the sighting of the moon or completing 30 days. No more, no less. Do not complicate things on yourself. Do not make things more difficult upon yourself in order for this tremendous ibadah to start. Jayyid. Now one will ask, can he use a telescope or what have you? Nah, Ahl Ilm say yes you can, and what certain people say yes you can. If you want to, nah. For those experts that know what they're looking for. Not just anyone, hey, I got a microscope. That's saw the hilal. Khalas. Everyone, Ramadan starts tomorrow. You understand, everyone? There has to be a person that has khibrah, that has expertise and specialty, and he knows what he's looking for. Okay, everyone? And also the other conditions that we're going to mention in the narration that's going to come. There's other conditions to it. Here in this narration that we're about to cover right now, gives other examples in which we're about to discuss. So is everyone ready for the next narration? طيب. It's the next narration on Yathari Abdullah ibn Umar. Radiyallahu anhuma, it says, قال. So we read both narrations. So one narration is upon Abdullah ibn Umar. Radiyallahu anhu. وَالضَّى. قال تراءى الناس الهلال فأخبرت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أني رأيته فصام وأمر الناس بصيامه رواه أبو داود وصححه ابن حبان والحاكم. Now we'll read the next one too. وليثار ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما أن أعرابيا جاء إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال إني رأيت الهلال فقال تشهد أن لا إله إلا الله قال نعم قال تشهد أن محمد رسول الله قال نعم قال فأذن في الناس يا بلال أن يصوموا غدا رواه الخمسة وصححه ابن خزيمة وابن حبان. To the end of the narration. It says on the first one that the people went out to investigate the sighting to see if they could see the sighting for the moon. So that's the first narration of Abdullah ibn Umar. So Abdullah ibn Umar said to the Messenger of Allah, I seen it. So the Messenger of Allah accepted his news that he brought to him. So the Messenger of Allah started the fast and he commanded the people to what? Start the fast. So that's one narration. Another narration from Abdullah ibn Abbas, it says that A'rabi, a man who was from the Bedouins, he came to the Messenger of Allah and he said, verily I seen the sighting. I seen the crescent moon, or the sighting for the inauguration of Ramadan. He says, do you testify that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah? He says, yes. Do you testify that Muhammad is the Messenger of Allah? He said, yes. He says, call the adhan or announce to the people, amongst the people, Ya Bilal, that they start their fast tomorrow. That narration also is authentic. طيب. So now this is the new narration, what we want to cover. So notice that we started the narrations that we already covered. Where the Messenger of Allah of course said in the hadith that previously just been mentioned, to what? That nobody start fasting except due to the what? The sighting of the moon. Or they break it due to the sighting likewise of the moon. The question is, does everyone have to see it? Does all the people have to see it? No. Not all the people have to what? To see it. What is intended is, notice the Messenger of Allah in the hadith, he says, يَتَرَاءَ النَّاسِ, that the people were investigating, the people, it says النَّاسِ, were investigating to see the what? The sighting. It says تَرَاءَ النَّاسِ. So hadith of Abdullah ibn Umar, now you have the one narration of Abdullah ibn Umar, and we had a narration of the Bedouin, right? Notice those were two separate occasions, so nobody get the false impression that both of these hadith happened at the same time. Okay, everyone? Because person might say, okay, well, there was two people that brought this news to the Messenger of Allah. No. These happened on two separate occasions. Right? So based upon the fact that this happened on a separate occasion, the narration of Abdullah ibn Umar, the Messenger of Allah only what? Worked by one narrator who informed him of the sighting. Ahl ilm use these type of narrations in order to what? To show and refute an affair in i'tiqad, an affair of belief in the foundations from Ahl Sunnah, of them accepting the news of one narrator. Due to the fact the Messenger of Allah accepted the news of Abdullah ibn Umar. If the person, as we know, is upright and trustworthy and reliable in their narrations. Why do you use these type of narrations? Because you'll find for the Mu'tazila that say in the Bab al-I'tiqad or the Bab al-Belief, there has to be, the stipulation is, there has to be what? More than one narrator, or else we do not accept it. It's rejected. It's rejected. It's not acceptable in our eyes. There has to be what? More than one individual to rely that narration of the Messenger of Allah in pertaining to the affairs of the belief system or the affairs of conviction or creed. They said they don't accept it. Even though you'll find in the narrations of the Mu'tazila and the Asha'ira what contradicts themselves. I don't want to get into that matter right now because that in itself is in the affairs of i'tiqad, which we'll discuss later. However, you'll find in this narration here, Ahl ilm use these type in order to refute their ambiguities, which is that khabar al-wahid, or the news of one narrator is rejected. We don't accept it unless it's what? More than one. Ahl ilm came back and refuted that to say what? That it's nonsense. If it's been in one chain, let's just say one narrator, and that whole chain, of course, the other behind that one narrator is other narrators, of course, in the chain. That one isnad, if this is what? It's fulfilled in it all the prerequisites of authenticity, and it's been established, then we accept it. Even if it came by one sahabi and one chain that was authentic. Does not matter. Only thing that Ahl Sunnah is concerned about are whether or not it's authentic or not. If it's been narrated by one sahabi, two sahabi, three sahabi, 10 sahabi, 30 sahabi, we do not look at that. Doesn't matter. If one sahabi informed it, and the chain is authentic behind the other narrators that, of course, they're in that chain, and all the prerequisites and condition of authenticity for that narration is established, then that is what Ahlul Sunnah what? Is concerned with. Other than that, there are other different types of ambiguities and all the different types of doubt that the Mu'tazila and the Asha'ira like to cast in the hearts of the people is rejected. You understand, everyone? The only thing that Ahlul Sunnah cares about is the thubut of that particular narration. Whether or not it's been authentically reported, no more, no less. They don't look to know whether or not it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. La la la. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Is it clear? I did say this before. The only thing they care about is whether or not it has been authentically reported or established upon the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All those conditions of it's khabar al-wahid or khabar al-ahad or mutawatir. Initially, these type of terminologies, whether it's been narrated from one or is it mutawatir? Mutawatir meaning that a number or great number of sahabi narrated it upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They call that mutawatir. That, for example, maybe from 10 to up to 30, up to 40 sahabi. They try to say, no, that's a condition. No, we don't say it has to be mutawatir. No. Then they say that a hadith of the Messenger of Allah break down in the khabar al-ahad and the khabar or that which is mutawatir. Meaning one sahabi narrated it, and you have a group of sahabi who narrated, that's mutawatir, and the other one is what they call khabar wahid. One narrated. What? Narrated it. So we don't accept that one narration. These type of terminologies initially came from the deviant sects, from the Sha'ira and the Mu'tazila. And they got their sunnah from who? The Greeks. You'll find that the majority of the nonsense of the deviant sects, from the Jahmiyyah, the Mu'tazila, the Sha'ira, the Maturidiyya, and all of them, all been affected by the Greek method, or the Greek philosophy and methodology of the Greeks. What's crazy is, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, and it's so ironic that even the Christians and the Jews and what they're practicing has been affected by Greek mythology and also Greek type of practices. Even if you go and study the origin of the belief that Jesus is the third of three, likewise goes back to the methodology of the Greeks and their belief of how they believe of divinity of one God being more than one, in plural, in three, divided into 1 to 3. What have you. It also goes back to Greek mythology. You see how the fitna of Greek mythology also not only affected those from the deviant sects of the Muslims, but even from those who also likewise changed the religion of Christianity. Even to the point where Christmas, likewise, of Santa Claus, originally goes back to Greek mythology. Of an old man whose name was Saint Nick, it was all go back to what? It goes back to a Greek god who used to fly during a certain time of the month in the winter, the solstice winter, in which they tried to change it into a cartoon, in which initially he was a god from the Greeks. All you'll find Greek mythology has affected all the Christians and the deviant sects likewise. The philosophy of the same thing, of philosophy and Greek mythology, both. But as far as in philosophy, they try to use that and incorporate it inside the religion. That's how they deviated. And they also came out with this ambiguity of everyone? Of the news of one person is not acceptable. It has to be mutawatir. That is absolute batil. You understand, everyone? The only thing that the Ahl Sunnah look at is whether or not it's authentically been reported upon our Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, no more, no less. And if you find that's what makes sense, absolutely. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? This narration is likewise the same thing that they used to refute. This narration of Abdullah bin Umar and the narration of the what? Of the one Bedouin, the Messenger of Allah, what? Accepted his news in order to inaugurate and start a pillar from the pillar of our religion. You understand? Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? طيب. Even a great Imam that he mentioned this. No doubt you'll find, subhanAllah al-azim, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, if you go back to history, how history just repeats itself over and over again. Even like we said, even people don't realize that Greek mythology even affected Christianity. Greek mythology has affected a lot of things in the practices that people are practicing these days. It's real what? Sad that people follow nonsense and absolute falsehood in these days we live in. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve us. طيب. بل إذا رآه واحد من المسلمين كفى. So that's the reason why we already discussed this. So it's not the prerequisite that all of the people what? See it. Is even a great Imam, Shaykh Salih Fawzan, what he mentions, it says, listen what he says clearly. He said, وَلَا يُشْتَرَطُ أَن يَرَاهُ الْجَمِيعِ بَلْ إِذَا رَآهُ وَاحِدٌ مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ كَفَى وثبت السوء فابن عمر رضي الله عنه ترى الناس الهلال عند الحديث يعني طلبوا رؤيته تحروا رؤيته وصاروا ينظرون في الأفق وهذا الهلال أو عفوا وهذا فيه مشروعية تحري الهلال. He says in this narrations to clearly show it's not a prerequisite that all the people have to see it. Rather, if one sees it from the Muslimin, it suffices for the establishment of one nafaz. For Abdullah bin Umar, it says in the narration that the people started to investigate and go out and seek it until the people started looking in the horizon. And in this, you'll find the legislation for the people to start investigating for the what? For the sighting on a particular night. And in this will be cooperation upon birr and taqwa, a piety and fear of Allah. For the night comes in which is being hoped, meaning usually in the 29th night, of course, there's being hoped that the people will see the sighting. Then it's highly recommended for the people to what? To go out and start to try to see it and investigate. They don't go to the house and come into their houses and say, khalas, it's done. Or, let the other people, inshallah, one of our friends will call us. They'll inform us. No, the people start to find out and try to call and do things in order to what? Make sure that the ibadah or this particular what? Rukn or this pillar has started. The person doesn't relax in his bed and say, did it start yet or not? Does it start yet or not? Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. They're being very lax in this matter. No, rather he tries to investigate to the best of your ability. Stop biting your nails. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Is it clear what I'm saying so far? Jay. Likewise, on the authority of what we talked about the Bedouin, same exact thing. Notice that the Messenger of Allah said, do you declare or do you testify that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah and that Muhammad is the Messenger of Allah? طيب. That right there is to show that the person who goes out to see it has to be Muslim. He has to be Muslim. Clearly. And also likewise, you'll find that Ahl Ilm also give another prerequisite. He has to have what they call quwwat al-nazar. That's the second one. He has to have strong vision. Reliable, strong vision. Of course, reliability is a strong vision. And he knows what to look for. Reliability, strong vision. He's from Ahl Khibra, the people of experience. And the people that knows what they're looking for. Ahl Khibra, Ahl Ikhtisas, those who are special and I'm sorry. He's reliability. He has reliability, of course. He's upright in his religion, of course. And he has strong vision. Knows what he's looking for. So based upon the narration of the Bedouin, notice likewise the Messenger of Allah ﷺ also used what? One narration, one narrator. So when the Messenger of Allah ﷺ asked this question, this is ordered to investigate and ascertain his Islam, whether or not it's established. Is he a non-believer or not? Because if he was a what? A disbeliever, or if he was a kafir, or if he was a non-Muslim, he would not have used, nor he relied upon his sighting. Right, everyone? Jay. He would not have relied upon his sighting. So, these narrations clearly show that the establishment of the Shahr Ramadan can be established by the citing of what? One person. With all the other prerequisites established. Which is what, everyone? Be Muslim. He has adala. Adala, and the greatest of all adala, of uprightness, is that he's Muslim. Also reliable, of course. He has to be thiqah. Was khabar mawthuqun bihi. Or mawthuqun bi qabulih. Also, he has to be reliable. And he also has to have strong vision. Quwwat an-nazar. And no doubt he has to be from Ahl-Ikhtisas, the people of proper credentials and people having that khibra. Khibra meaning having an experience to know what he's looking for. This is exactly what the great Imam just mentioned and said. He says, from the فالأصل في المسألة العدالة فيقبل خبره. Alhamdulillah, we just covered that. So now, when the Messenger of Allah ﷺ mentioned this, he said, "Oh Bilal, announce to the people." So this shows that the people in this particular time should announce, and they should what? Make this news known. Well, the people can. This is the type of news that now you can what? Take advantage of social media to spread some khair all amongst the people. Widespread. Make it known. Yes. Here, spread something positive, which is what? That the inauguration of Ramadan is what? Started. Spread that on your cell phone. Spread that on. Based upon even what the great Imam, he mentions it says, he says now the people should announce it. He said it doesn't matter. Whether it's by Yusawitu bin Nas, that he announced it to the people, meaning by his voice. Of course he wants. Or he announces it through what is the different types of ways of announcement, which is present today. It doesn't matter by radio, or does it mean by, no, people don't use telegraphs anymore, but even, or by the striking of the sounds of the cannons in which they launched, even in Saudiya. As we used to be when I was there, they used to launch the cannons to let everyone know that the Ramadan is started. They would launch, or they would send out, or they would fire the cannons. They have cannons and they will fire them. And make it be known, a loud noise, that everyone know that fasting is now started. So this is not something that one should keep hidden. This is time where everyone should be Joe. They do that when the ball team wins. Here you can now spread this news. Jayid, this is the type of news that can be that can be now broadcasted. So all these affairs, which is now legislated, that one announced, and the people should also try to investigate to find out whether or not this worship has started. Jayyid. So that's from the fiqh of this particular narration. So number one, the hadith of Abdullah bin Umar is a refutation against the people bid'ah who say that khabar al-wahid, or the news on one individual, has to be, or rather it has to be more than one in order for the affairs of aqidah or belief or conviction to be accepted. We said that is what? Nonsense. And you'll find from those evidences is this hadith here, or these two hadith here, and other ahadith. So memorize those ahadith. Because I have actually ran into people who have been affected by this ideology in Philadelphia. Oh, we don't accept that. That's khabr al-wahid. You've been, oh boy, here we go. That we don't accept that. That's khabr al-wahid. That's the news on one narrator. We don't accept it. And if, walillahi alhamdul minna, if you read the refutations, you'll show how they contradict themselves. Because I remember Sheikh Muhammad Aman al-Jami, rahimahullah, when he was talking about this in his sharh in the Aqidat al-Wasitiyah, he was saying here in this instance, he was saying about these people that contradict themselves. One of them is you find, he says in the aspect of fiqh, you'll find that they apply khabr al-wahid, the news of one narrator. And they'll work by it in the aspect of jurisprudence. But they won't work by it in the aspect of fundamental belief. He said, which one is more important? The affairs of branches, of that which is subsidiary, or the affairs of that which is the affairs of that which is pertaining to the belief system, or pertaining to the branches? Which one is more important? The belief system in the origin and the usul. So he says, so now if you accept news in the fiqh, it's all the more reason you accept it in what? The belief system. It doesn't make sense. So why are you accepting in fiqh, but you don't accept it in the aspect of the usul? Doesn't make sense. Then on top of that, he says another contradiction. He says, even in the acts of an i'tiqad, even if the hadith is mutawatir, you still reject it. Why? Because he says, if it doesn't agree with the aql, with the mind or the intellect, they'll come with some more games. You know what they'll say? They'll say that the narration, he says, قطعية الثبوت ظنية الدلالة. He says, yeah, it's been established that's authentic, but it's suspect as far as what the hadith indicates. Word games. قطعية الثبوت ظنية الدلالة. You understand, everyone? Absolute nonsense. So that's what I'm saying. What they apply is contradictive. They contradict their own selves. And like I told you, I have ran into people who have been affected by this nonsense. People say, oh man, don't nobody believe that. Who? Like I said, when I was in Philadelphia has everything, right? When I was in Philadelphia, I've ran into people that said we don't accept that narration in Aqidah of Allah being above or Allah to be with the Allah having two hands. We don't accept that. That's khabr wahid. Not knowing that these type of terminologies initially were designed from philosophers, and they incorporated inside the revelation, which they wanted to use it in order to reject the revelation. That's the reason why these initial terminologies came what with? In order to cause doubt in the Muslims in the aspect of Aqidah, number one. And number two, in order to reject the revelation and to give precedence to the intellect over the revelation. Whereas the opposite of what we've been cultivated upon, which is what? To give precedence to the what? Revelation over the intellect. Whereas we know that the intellect, as Shaykh al-Islam came to show, and he brought a whole book upon it, called Dar Ta'arud al-Aql wal-Naql. He said that the what? The book entitled that the mind, or removing the doubt or the notion that the mind came in order to oppose the revelation, or the intellect came in order to oppose the revelation. That was the name of the whole book. He said, removing the notion. He said, Dar Ta'arud al-Aql wal-Naql. He said of that the mind opposes the revelation. Removing it. But he's establishing and showing that the mind came to submit to the revelation, not to oppose it. You clear what I'm saying? طيب. So, but from their ambiguities, and you'll find that Ahl Ilm focus on these narrations to refute those ideologies. Those two ahadith in Siyam of Abdullah bin Umar and the hadith of the Bedouin. Memorize them. Because you need them as your weapons. And when I mean weapon, I don't mean equipment. I mean knowledge. Jayyid, that is your weapon in these dark times we live in, which is the memorization of these authentic narrations. طيب, I'll read this quickly and then we'll stop, inshallah. He says, and this is a tremendous, profound statement by the great Imam, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve him, Shaykh Salih Fawzani goes on to say. He says, أما ما ينادي به اليوم بعض الجهال أو المتعالمين المتنطعين من العمل بالحساب الفلكي فهذا إحداث شيء في دين الله لم يشرعه الله عز وجل شرع لنا الصيام بأحد أمرين الحمد لله. He starts to go on what I was just mentioning a couple of minutes ago. He says, I ask for those who call out today, those who are ignorant and those who are pretending to have knowledge, who are mutanatti', they're going to the extremes of working by what they call al-hisab al-falaki. Meaning by what? Counting the position of the stars or numerating or counting the position of the stars that they try to use. This is something that's newly invented in the religion of Allah. Allah did not legislate this. Rather, Allah legislated for us by establishing the month of Ramadan by two affairs. We just already mentioned it. Either by sighting of the moon or completing the what? 30 days of Sha'ban. There's nothing third. He says, rather you'll find, he says that الحساب والتنجيم ومعرفة منازل القمر موجودا في عهد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وكان أقوى مما هو الآن ولم يعتمد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم على الحساب لأنه عرضة للخطأ فالحساب عمل بشري عرضة للخطأ والحاسب يغلط لأنه بشر. Listen to what he goes on to say. He says, in regards to now people want to use the position or counting or enumerating the stars and using this as a way to establish Ramadan and using the stars or this type of method or the manazil al-qamar or the position of the moon and how it moves, so-called. He says this was present during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. He said not only that, it was more stronger then because the people had more knowledge because they used to rely on that. But then in a lot of their affairs, he was so stronger then than it is now. And despite of that, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ didn't use it. Nor did he depend upon it or rely upon it. He says because it's more than likely it's a place for what? It's exposed to what? Infallibility. It could be a mistake. For the hisab amal bashar because it was made by mankind. More than likely anything that was made man-made or something that was an ideology that was man-made, then is more than likely what? Subjected to what? Being a mistake or infallibility or being wrong. He said, for al-hasab, the person who's doing the actual counting or the position of these counting or doing al-hasib, he's doing the counting or the position of the stars, he can make a mistake. He says, also likewise, al-hisab of so-called using the planets and the moons and the stars and the counting of it, he says an affair that is what? It could be inconspicuous. It's inconspicuous. Only a few people knows this affair. Not a lot of people knows it. And the religion of Allah is easy. And for that reason, the Shari' of the Kitab and Sunnah has made the Siyam start by affairs that are absolutely clear. Clear to the common folk, clear to those who learning, clear to those, and it does not need for one to overburden himself. For the vision of the moon, and either it's the first method or counting the 30 days of Sha'ban, clear. In contrast to what? To those that reckon or that counting the stars, not everyone knows that. So for that reason, it is being exposed or subjected to what? It is subject to what? It being wrong, infallibility. So all these matters in which the people you'll find that they're practicing is absolutely what? Incorrect. In this method, what they call al-hisab al-falaki. So he's what? He's what? Refuting this notion here. Walillahi alhamdul minna. So that was the last thing I wanted to mention before we stop. Taib, is there any questions about the lesson? Oh, I can't wait till we get to these other narrations. Sheikh Salih Fawzan. So he's refuting the notion what they call al-hisab al-falaki. I don't know how they translate exactly in English. What did they use? How did they say? The counting or enumerating the position of the stars or something like that? Or something, some type of method that the people use. I know a lot of the Ikhwaniyin, the people from the Muslim Brotherhood or the Ikhwan al-Muslimin, Isna, a lot of them, they like to use that. They call it Hisab al-Falaki. Every year they come up with it. He says, based upon Hisab al-Falaki, we have now said that Ramadan is officially started. And I've read that too. That they actually use the counting of the stars or the position of how the moon moved as far as in the different positions it's in. And they try to count it and use numbers to count it exactly or something to that effect. They'll use that method. It's a method that is what? Incorrect, especially from the deviant sects such as Isna and other than them. Some of them they use it, some of them they don't. So I want to say all of them. So they probably might try to come and say, AbdurRazzaaq, well, we don't use that. We go by the official ru'ya. No, but some of them they do use that. Some of them. And even if you did use the regular ru'ya, we still don't accept it from you. Due to the fact, like we said, Ahl Bid'ahs, we don't find security from them in the aspect of Aqeedah. And for that reason, we don't find no security in the rest of the other affairs of the religion. We do not trust you. Due to the fact that your usul is what? Is messed up. Your foundation is messed up, then more than likely other things are going to be messed up. And this is what we see in their masajid. This is exactly what we see. You see in the affairs of the branches are messed up. Why? Because their what? Their foundation is messed up. So that you don't find there's no surprise that they're uttering statements that goes and opposes the religion to say, Yahi, you have to come up with the time. You growing a beard, that's for the prehistoric times. You know, you have to come up with the times. You're a black man in America. So, you have to show how important it is to be a black man in a society in which, where the black man is being oppressed. And then you'll find that they have pictures of Elijah Muhammad. You have pictures of Martin Luther King. And they have pictures of all these other people in their offices. First of all, why do you have pictures? That's number one. Second of all, on top of that, why is this focus on the black man? And then I always ask people who so-called into these type of affairs, what does any of these movements have really truly done for black people? I'm asking, because they're still being killed off every day in multiple numbers in the hoods every day. You want to go over to Chicago now to count the numbers of homicides now? Just in Chicago alone, started from January up to now, Google it right now. Just this year, in St. Louis, it was another, not St. Louis, it's another one. Tampa Bay is the second one or the first one. I got to check it for last year. It's one of the two. But Chicago, everybody knows about the youth and how they're just dropping like flies in Chicago. Daily. So I'm asking, these movements that these people are coming up with, is it working? It's not working. People are losing their youth every day. Shot in the head, wars, guns, tattoos, girls, filth upon filth, music, homosexuality, you name it. Every type of filth that destroys a person's mind and his body, they're indulged in it. What's going to get them to stop except tawheed of Allah Ta'ala and ma'rifah of Allah? That's it. No more, no less. That's the only thing that's going to rectify any race and any human being. No more, no less. It's that simple. But it's easy to say it, but it's hard for the people to apply it and to accept it. Taib, is there any questions about the lesson? Yeah, that's an excellent translation. Astronomical calculations. Astronomical calculations. Exactly. Dealing with astronomy, position and movement of the stars, stuff like that. Astronomical calculations. That's a good translation, dude. I could have came up with one better myself. Astronomical calculations. So Ahl Ilm say that is what? Batil. Not to use it. Anything else about the class? And on top of that, the Nation of Islam has found out that they started being involved inside of drugs and crime. What's so strange is that what they was preaching against, they started being involved in it. Later on down the line, they started being in cahoots with those people. Wow. Wow. We still have to accept the homosexuality people who are black. As long as they're fighting for the black man, khalas, we got to accept them. They're our brothers. Yeah. What's so crazy is if you read there's a bahth by our brother, our virtuous brother, Abu Iyad, AbdurRazzaaq, he brings an excellent refutation against the Nation of Islam. He says that the ideology of the Nation of Islam came from a deviant sect called the Qaramita, from Abdullah ibn Qirmit. It was a deviant sect. They were Baltani. There was a deviant sect who were Baltani. And how you'll find that Fard Muhammad, or the so-called, Fard Muhammad was the so-called person who was Allah, I think it was, with the 5%. But then you got Elijah Poole, Elijah Muhammad, they call him so-called, they say he's honorable. But you'll find that Elijah Muhammad got that actual ideology of the Nation of Islam from Abdullah ibn Qirmit of the Qaramita, who was a deviant sect from the Baltaniya, from a Baltani deviant sect, and he tried to switch it and make it into English, and that's what he preached to the people. Look it up. I'm going to show you and give you guys to look it up, and you'll find exactly what the Qaramita used to believe is exactly what they were preaching from a deviant sect of the past. And all he did was just bring it back to life. And the people started following it. Exactly, revive that death, exactly. But we'll stop here, inshallah. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.